Are you frustrated by portraits that consistently feel too tight, controlled, or rigid when what you deeply crave is expressive, loose brushwork? This is exactly how I felt when I trained at an atelier known for classical realism. All I wanted was to paint like Sargent Zorn or Sorolla, but all the atelier taught was painstaking, slow approaches that led to really tight results. It wasn't just frustrating, it completely drained my joy in painting. After only about 2 months in this school, I stopped painting for an entire year, and most of my classmates quit altogether. If feeling stuck in tight painting resonates with you, stick around, because today I'll show you how I transformed my oil paintings from overly controlled and lifeless into vibrant, expressive works that earned me awards like the Oil Painters of America Gold Medal. You'll see my entire start-to-finish process, and if you're committed to mastering expressive brushwork, you can also join me for my live webinar happening this Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Spots fill quickly, so save yours now via the link in the description. My name is Chelsea, and I get to do what I love. I help experienced artists break free from mechanical tight painting to confidently create bold, expressive, alla prima oil paintings that are in their unique style. Today, I'm going to share every critical step that set me up for success in this journey so that you can do the same for yourself. Let's jump in. Now, before I even begin this painting, I had to take a critical step that happens off camera, and that is that I revisit my inspiration board. This board represents my ideal artistic voice, combining precise realism and key features like the eyes and details of the face with loose abstracted backgrounds. Now, if knowing what your unique style or artistic voice looks like is a stumbling block for you, or you worry that your style is fixed and it's just too bad if you don't love it, or maybe you're just one of those naturally tight painters, well, I actually have several videos on my YouTube channel outlining exactly why this isn't true and how you can find your unique artistic voice when it comes to expressive oil painting. I'll make sure to link them above so you can watch them after this video, because this is a critical step that you want to make sure that you've checked off. And the reason for this is really simple. If we don't have a clear vision for what we want our paintings to look like, we're kind of just leaving it all to chance. We are defaulting to whatever our muscle memory would have us do, which doesn't necessarily align with what we want to create. In fact, I would say in the overwhelming majority of cases, it does not align with what we want to create. So the best way that we can combat this is to make sure that we really do have a clear understanding of what our voice looks like when it comes to painting. So before I dove into this piece, I made a point to revisit my inspiration board and get really clear and just refresh my memory on what I'm aiming for. Then, my process for this painting winds up being the same as any other. I carefully select and edit my reference until it perfectly aligns with that inspiration board. And knowing that they align is actually a really simple process. I take the image that I want to paint from, and I put it on my inspiration board, and I see if it looks like it belongs, or whether it stands out like a sore thumb. By comparing the mock-up for my painting against the paintings that inspire me, I ensure that the image naturally fits with my desired aesthetic, removing guesswork and freeing me to paint more confidently. So if it stands out for some reason, I simply edit it until it doesn't anymore. And I can look at my reference and think, that's exactly what I want the final painting to look like, no guesswork required. Once I can start out with a really clear picture of what the goal is for this painting, I can actually go ahead and think about my brushwork and how I'm going to begin. So the key to achieving painterly looseness consistently is that you have to start by reverse engineering the brushwork you admire. Before painting sessions, I make sure I'm familiar and confident with the specific kinds of brush marks and techniques inspired by master artists like Sargent. In my case, I've built this muscle memory for loose brushwork through consistent practice of doing things like master copies and targeted brushwork exercises over the years. But for my students, I actually recommend that you do things a little bit differently, just in case you don't have years of practice and familiarity with this brushwork already built up. So for me, in my case, before this painting, I didn't really have to do any specific warm-up exercises to familiarize myself with the kind of brushwork I wanted to make because I've been doing this for such a long time. But for my students, for instance, I would actually suggest warming up with something like a master copy where you are working from a similar subject that's composed in a similar way and has the brushwork that you want. What this actually allows you to do is get the exact brushwork you want into your muscle memory right before you go into your original painting. This is such an important step because I think one of the biggest pitfalls that painters run into is they think that expressive brushwork should simply come from the soul. It should be what your hand intuitively wants to do. The problem with this, however, is we're making a whole lot of assumptions here, right? Like, for instance, let's imagine a kid who is learning piano. You wouldn't, after showing this child the piano for the first time, say, all right, go off, be creative, write a song. No, that's not how learning the piano works. You spend years doing things like just practicing your scales and learning to play pieces by a lot of different composers. And theoretically, if later on in this journey you do want to compose your own music, well, by then you would hopefully have a lot of different artistic influences to pull from. You know the stylistic tendencies of a lot of different composers. And not only that, you know how to play those because you have been practicing the styles of those composers for years, and they are in your physical repertoire of pieces that you can play on this instrument. The exact same thing is true when it comes to painting. So often, we assume that what we make on the canvas should just intuitively be our authentic voice. And we have this expectation without really setting ourselves up to learn the necessary techniques to make it happen. Sure, we might learn how to hold a brush or how to mix up paint, or we might learn concepts like fat over lean, but we don't actually take the time to really understand how to achieve one brush mark versus another. And we don't actually spend time studying. We have this pressure as artists to just create and generate new things all the time, which is actually a much slower path to determining your voice and getting the skills necessary to create work in that voice, as counterintuitive as that might seem. So this goes back to how I set myself up for success with this painting. In my case, I have so many years of practicing my brushwork through things like master copy that I can essentially go into this painting pretty cold and still have a successful piece at the end of it. But for students who maybe don't have the benefit of all of that time and experience yet, it is helpful to warm up by doing a master copy and having that immediately in your muscle memory so that you aren't just defaulting back to your natural way of handling the brush and making marks. By the way, if mastering brushwork through reverse engineering sounds exciting to you, we're really going to be deep diving into this on Monday's live webinar. So make sure that you save your spot via the link below. Now, as you watch this painting unfold, I want you to notice how I'm establishing expressive, deliberate brush marks right from the start. Each stroke matters and sets the stage for looseness and energy throughout the painting. Specifically, I want you to watch how this clarity of my direction translates directly onto the canvas. Based on my mock-up for the final painting, I know that I need to keep accuracy in crucial areas like the eyes, but I should intentionally simplify background elements, for instance. Thus, my attention is really freed up. I'm not fixating on whether to change the lighting or change the colors in her skin tone. I'm not tempted to experiment with my background. No, I am just diligently translating everything that is in my mock-up or my plan for this painting to the canvas, with the only decisions I'm having to make coming down to just how to make every mark on the canvas intentional and interesting. So my aim is to make every mark almost like a complete, beautiful painting all of its own. This really draws the viewer in, not because of the detail necessarily or the detail alone, but because the brush marks themselves are really interesting. They're expressive and they're captivating. For me, this actually ties into the third really important ingredient in this process, or what you could almost think of as the most essential factor, which is structuring your painting practice around genuine enthusiasm and enjoyment of the process. So I wind up thinking about the early stages of this painting almost as a game. How beautiful can I make the block in itself? How much can I make the block in alone, the very first set of brushstrokes that go down on the canvas, look like a finished, beautiful painting? Me playing this sort of game accomplishes two important things. On the one hand, it actually allows me to preserve a lot of the looseness in this painting because by definition, I'm trying to keep my brushstrokes to a minimum. I'm not saying, hey, I can put down 20 brushstrokes to get down one idea. Instead, I'm asking myself, how can I capture this idea with just one really elegant brushstroke? Now, sometimes I succeed, sometimes I don't. That's the point of thinking of it like a game. And that works for me personally. It allows me to think of my process as something that is just fun and playful. The reason that this matters so much is that even the best techniques or strategies or painting exercises will not help if you dread the process or don't want to get into the studio. Or even if you do want to get into the studio, but you're just not motivated enough to get into the studio. Just thinking about these things isn't going to yield the breakthrough that you want, but getting in and getting a lot of practice will, assuming that that practice is intentional. For this, I like to share the parable of, well, depending on the version that you're used to, this is either the parable of the clay pots or the parable of the intro photography class. There have been a couple of different versions of this story that have been shared in a couple of actually quite popular books, and I've talked about them before on this channel. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to choose one version. And let's imagine, for instance, that there is a introductory seminar and a college course for pottery making. And there's a professor teaching this class, and he has two different instances of this class. And for one version of this class, he said, okay, the only grade that you are going to get, the only thing that matters in this class is that by your final assignment, you make the most perfect pot possible. And in the other instance of his class, he said something similar, but slightly different. He said, in this class, the only grade that will determine your final grade for the semester is how many pots you submit for the final. And it had a ranking system. It was something like, let's just say 50 pots was an A and 35 pots was a B, etc. And you would expect that the instance of the class where they were just told, make the most perfect pot possible, that because they were focused so purely on quality, that they would have the best result. But actually, the inverse was true. The version of the class where students took the pressure off of making something perfect every time, they wound up being free to just experiment and try things and grow. And ultimately, they put themselves out there with their creative work in a way that they actually learned more and grew more. So my understanding is this is something that has actually happened and been studied. And what we have found is that consistency over time and just putting in a high quantity of reps matters more than trying to make those repetitions perfect. Now, if you've been going at this alone in your painting practice for a while, you might be thinking, well, I've gotten in a lot of repetitions, but I am feeling really stuck. And that's okay. There's a natural reason that is happening. And it's probably to do with the fact that you do have consistency, but you aren't necessarily getting the clear feedback and instruction that you need to course correct in that journey. So for my journey and also with my students, I really focus on two things: making sure that we have a clear goal and a structure for your practice that gets you to that goal. And hopefully watching this video today, you can see a glimpse into how that actually works. I had a clear vision for what I want my overall body of work as an artist to look like. And I had a clear plan for this painting. And not only that, but I had a clear method for reverse engineering my way to that plan through everything that I've done up until this point with things like master copy and brushwork studies. Then I balance that out by thinking, what would this look like if it were fun? What can I do to maximize the chances that I'm going to want to sit down at the easel and put in practice and make that practice really self-reinforcing? Basically, once I sit down to do it, what can I do to make me want to do this over and over and over? Because the truth is, an exercise that you do one time, but it's really tedious and you really just want to get it over with, well, that exercise is only good for what it can teach you in that one instance. But an exercise that you want to do over and over again that also is effective, that is going to yield a huge amount of growth because you're putting in a lot of repetitions with that one exercise. And so for me, playing this game with this piece of how few brushstrokes can I put down to get this looking like the final product, that is a really fun game for me. And usually the thing that's holding me back from getting in more painting practice isn't my desire to paint. It's things like running a business or taking care of other responsibilities. And what I have found is that the biggest growth in my painting has come from periods where I wasn't necessarily just getting in the most repetitions, but it is from the period where I'm enjoying the process so much that I really show up for those repetitions in a meaningful way. It's kind of this Venn diagram where I'm using the right exercises. I'm enjoying them enough that I'm getting consistency with them, and I will show up session after session to put in the reps. But I'm also making sure that I'm staying really intentional with that time, and I'm not just putting in mindless repetitions without having a sense of what my goal is, or showing up without really making sure that I'm going to enjoy the process. So if you're serious about finally loosening up your work, getting away from photorealism to make something that feels expressive and creative and that it's a reflection of your unique artistic voice, I want you to remember these key takeaways. The first is to clarify your artistic vision. Have a really clear trajectory for where you're wanting to take your work. Next, reverse engineer your desired brushwork through deliberate practice. If you aren't able to get the brushwork you want in very controlled practice exercises, well, chances are you're really going to struggle to get that into your original works. So we need to take a step back and make sure you've checked off this box before you put a whole bunch of stock in one individual painting being the breakthrough. And then third, it's critical to ensure that your painting practice is structured around joy and consistent enthusiasm, so you show up over time and really get in the reps. To learn exactly how to apply all of these strategies in depth, don't miss my free webinar Monday night. I'm going to be answering your questions live during the webinar. So if you have questions just off of this painting or this video alone, drop them in the comments for me and secure your spot now by signing up for that webinar. The link is in the description. And I'll be going over the questions that you have shared with me in the comments during that webinar. I'll also have a live Q&A at the end of the webinar. So if you wind up having questions for me, this is a fantastic opportunity to have a back and forth with me in real time so we can talk about the main questions or challenges that you have around expressive oil painting alla prima. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe for more practical strategies. Now, go enjoy your painting, and I'll see you in the webinar.